Greetings, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a subject to you today that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know, and that is how broken hearts are avoidable up to a point. And it's kind of I wish it were a shorter title, but that's the way it goes. So I want to talk about relationships as I see them, as far as the heart goes, and commitment, fidelity, loyalty, all that stuff. And there's different kinds of relationships. They're not all romantic, obviously. Romance has features that other types of relationships don't have, but there are things that all relationships have in common. And I'm thinking about, for example, first of all, the famous band Pink Floyd, if you've heard of them. They got started in the 60s, I believe, with a member who fell out of the band. Sid Barrett, if you're familiar, I don't want to dive too deep into the story of Pink Floyd or Sid Barrett, but there was a turning point where during a practice, from what I understand, Sid Barrett became he was not able. They were not able to keep him in the band. He kind of forced a conflict at a certain point, and they had no choice, is my understanding. How I read it, how I've heard about the story, which is unfortunate because obviously Pink Floyd became one of the biggest bands of all time, and Sid Barrett didn't really get to participate in all that. But the point is that breaking hearts is best avoided. Hopefully we can all agree on that. But it's a group effort. And there are ways people can force a falling out or a decision whether or not to continue to be with them or around them. And that's the group effort part, where if somebody has decided to stop behaving in a way that is consistent with getting along, and it is permanent enough or habitual or repeatable enough or repeated enough so that the other person or other parties have no choice, well, regardless of feelings or broken hearts, there's a point where you just can't continue to work with people if they insist. So we all have that power. You can call it veto power, you can call it consent, you can call it just being difficult or whatever. But it's best to try to be understood, to try to get along. But some people just they're not able to do that. And we to digress just a little bit, but still in the vein of the subject, for as long as I've been alive, I've heard stories about heartbreakers and people who are reckless with other people emotionally. They take advantage. They're accused very easily. It's sometimes easy to blame somebody after a heart gets broken and say, well, look, this person was stronger or more mature, and they left unscathed, relatively unscathed, and this other person may have been devastated. Well, okay, yes, but there's probably more to it. There's usually a lot more to it. And growing up, I think, involves a little bit of heartbreak. Hopefully not in a permanent sense, like in a devastating, life-changing, scarring sense. That also happens, but that's hopefully very rare. It happens to a lot of people, and it's tragic because you lose sensitivity, you lose capacity and trust, and a lot of stuff. And this isn't really about that either, but it's about the group effort part. Really, that's the focus, I think. And how even victims, people who are gonna take the brunt of a breakup, are also a little bit responsible for trying to keep it together. And unfortunately, sometimes people just lack the skills. They lack the tools to continue to get along with people until they reach maturity, or not. Some people never get there. I don't know. But you can, as individuals, I can, put up with somebody to a point, right? there's a limit. And if a person has decided that they're gonna, be difficult every day, indefinitely, there's not a lot else you can do. And even if they're going to get hurt, there's still not much you can do, and your choice is already made. People can force that. It's sad, but it happens. Anyway, not the most uplifting video, but if you have thoughts or comments, I like to be real in my videos, and it's an important subject. Love and relationships are very important. So reach out at whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Thanks.